The sword comes at Jin Mu-Won. He thinks if he should not fight right now because if he could not detect him earlier, it means that he is martial artist. There is a chance that he will be killed for using martial arts and for not using it as well. He had to choose which one would give him the highest chance of survival. The sword then hits him. Dan Jikshim felt a strange chi just then. What was it he thinks? Just then Seo Hai-ryung comes in and orders her guard to stop Shim. They go running towards Jin and try to stop his bleeding. Jin was in a lot of pain but was thankful that Shim had missed his vital spots. Unable to dodge that simple attack, Shim then believes the rumor that Jin did not know any martial arts. But if that was the case, what was the strange chi that he sensed? Were his senses off today? Hai-ryung then shouts at Shim about what he was doing. Shim thinks that he will take it slow and observe Jin. He then tells her that Jin could dodge something as simple as that. He then leaves saying that Jin was pathetic. Hai-ryung then gives Jin a recovery pill, a renowned pill with the best recovery effect that will quickly heal his wounds. She then apologizes to Jin, telling him that she had no idea Shim would be that violent. Jin is totally in pain. She then offers to accompany him to his room, telling him that she is truly sorry for what happened. Jin had passed out. He slowly woke up. Seol asks if the people from the Central Alliance did that to him. She then tells her that he is really an idiot, as he could have at least stood up to them or just run away from there. Seol was really angry at that. Jin holds her hands and thanks Seol. Aside from Mr. Huang, it had been a long time since someone had scolded him. She is then startled by this and hits him, getting all shy. She then tells Jin that she might be leaving soon. Jin is quiet hearing this. Seol says that she is completely healed and is going to leave soon. Seol remembers the last night when she was meditating. The bodyguard suddenly came and told her that he had just returned from the master's side and their master had made a full recovery. Seol was happy hearing this. Then the guard tells him that they will be making their move very soon, and she needed to start preparing herself. Another man was arriving at the Northern Heavenly Sect, known as the undefeated Dam Su-cheon. He sees the Northern Heavenly Sect from afar and thinks that it had a strong life force. He then senses someone and tells them to stop hiding like a rat and come out. People rose from the sand and asked where he was headed. Su-cheon thinks who those bastards were, as they had interesting weapons. The chi they were giving off were different from any martial artist he had ever fought before. Su-cheon says why he needs to tell them anything. They state that they will let him leave if he leaves that place quietly. He then arrogantly says that he should be the one telling them to leave while he was asking nicely. Hearing that the bandits attack Su-cheon talking about a woman, he tells them that he does not know about any women, but if they want to fight then he will gladly fight them. They all then attack Su-cheon at once, but he was unfazed. The bandits were all in shock seeing this. He had caught all of their weapons and then used his chi to attack the bandits. The bandits were hurt by this. They were all scared to see that the hidden ghosts ahead were all killed in a single attack. They then planned to use their special attack and finish him off in one hit. They then charged towards Su-cheon. He also charges towards the bandits. With swords stabbed on him, he was standing tall and had managed to kill all the enemies. The enemies were not average martial artists and were stronger than Su-cheon had thought. He thinks that he should have left one alive to question their attack. Even the master of Swift Blade was not that strong. He then catches his breath and begins his journey to the Northern Heavenly Sect. He was almost there. At the Normal Heavenly Sect, Jin comes out for a walk. He is noticed by Hai-ryung. She asks how he was doing as she was heading his way to give him some more medicines. He tells her that it was not the first time he was injured like that. She then apologizes once more for what had happened earlier, and for intruding at his place without his permission. Jin tells that once again it was not the first time people had done that, and since they were already here, he tells them to enjoy themselves. Hyun thanks Jin for his kindness. She says that she had expected him to resent them since their grandfather were the 9 skies of the Central Heavenly Alliance, and on top of that her grandfather was the one in front for killing Jin's father. Jin did not say anything. Hyun then says that she is different from her cruel grandfather, and if there was anything that she could do to help Jin, she tells him not to hesitate and ask her. Her bodyguard, Yan Soso, was watching from the rooftop. At night, Shim is passing through the hall and sees someone. Hyun was calling him. Shim asks what was wrong. He had thought that she was a ghost. She then looks at him and says Shim not to mess with Jin. He then tries to ignore the question, stating that he thought that Jin would be able to dodge a simple attack like that. Hyun tells Shim that Jin held a tremendous value to their plan, and they'll need to use his existence as the last descendant of the Northern Heavenly Sect as best as they can. Far village is completely burned. A man had his hand impaled in another's chest. The demon of chaos Tae-mu-Kwan. He was quite disappointed as the villagers did not even put up a fight. His subordinates then returned to him. The bandits from earlier were his troops. They state that they had lost contact from their group, and on investigation they found that their troop were completely annihilated. Tae-mu-Kwan was surprised hearing that the hidden ghost troop was destroyed. They were destroyed by a kid. They then speculate that the girl they were searching for might be hiding in the same territory. Hearing this, he then orders his men to march as they were going for hunting. At the Northern Heavenly Sect, Ciel Musang is called by someone. It was the 4 Dead Heavens elite Tiger Guard Yeepwol. He then tells Ciel Musang that he had suddenly disappeared the other day and asks him how he was doing. An old friend? Yeepwol had stolen Ciel Musang's woman. He tells him that he was even fortunate enough to get into the elite Tiger Guards. He then tells him to never show his face to Yeepwol. Yeepwol then coughs and tells that he was still feeling guilty about that, but he had told us already that she chose him. Musang gets angry hearing this and charges at Yeepwol. Yeepwol is startled by this. Ciel Musang then charges at Yeep. Yeep also takes his weapon out and charges. Ciel Musang's blade broke and his hand was all injured. Yeep then tells him to calm down as he was only trying to be nice. He then apologizes, saying that he needed to face reality and move on. Musang kneels on the ground while Yeep tells him that they were going to be in the same place for a while and could not avoid each other. He says that he had not cut him deep, but Musang needed to treat that wound before it got worse. Musang remembers his past and cries at his condition. At the forge, Jin was making something. He then goes to eat. Darun Hasiol was asking for her food. Jin then gives the present that he had made for Seol. Seol asks what it is. He tells her that it is a present. Seol asks why he is giving a present to her. He then, while eating, tells her that he wanted to give her something before they parted ways. Seol is all shy hearing this. Jin says that the food tasted good today. At night, Seol is looking at the present given to her by Jin. She was feeling very nice and thought that the gift was pretty. Suddenly then the bodyguard comes. She quickly puts away the present. He had come to tell her that the master was arriving soon at that place. He then asks what Seol had hidden just now. She tells him that it was nothing for him to worry about. He tells her that she was their only hope and tells her not to have any personal attachments. She says that she won't let that happen. The guard then leaves. On the other side of the sect, Ciel Musang is practicing, thinking that Yeep must be lying, but what if he was telling the truth? He was in remorse as to why his girlfriend had left him and gone to Yeepwool. Did Yeepwool have anything that he did not have? Yeep was more talented and had amazing qualities than him. He had been trying his best to forget about it all, but why was he constantly reminded? Why could he not move on? He was all agitated and spiteful. Just then a voice comes, dark illusion of the distrustful heart. When you start to doubt yourself, you will be consumed by the darkness inside the heart. The rage that burns inside of you will only lead to your downfall and will never be the answer to your problem. The part that you are looking at is only one of the many sides contained within you. This one side does not define who you are as a whole. Once you calm down the rage that is inside of you, your mind shall become crystal clear, as it shall become the mirror that reflects the truth. You are like water which can still flow from the lowest places. Once shined by the sunlight, the water shall evaporate and rise into the atmosphere. The conviction of the heart is the same principle as this. Once inside the atmosphere, the billowing winds shall move the clouds. This is the same as the turmoil inside your heart. Allow your meditation to become sea, and your umbilical ring shall become your anchor. Align your cerebral cortex to the heavens, and you shall govern the skies. C.L. Musang is shocked. What was that chi? It was as if someone had opened a door and guided him to the right path. What was that? Jin is getting cold at the top of the tower. So, he plans to stop for the day. He then heads down. Suddenly, he senses an immense chi. It was very immense, like a dragon. Jin was shocked by that intense aura. It felt like his legs might give out any second. Su Cheon had reached the Northern Heavenly Sect. He thought that it was quite impressive. He then sees everyone running towards him. Jin was confused. He then figures that his brothers and sisters and came before him. Hai Ryung sees Jin and bows to him. Jin bows back. They then see that Suchon was all messed up and ask him what had happened. They asked if he was okay. Hai Ryung asks if he had suffered those injuries from the last fighter that he fought to complete the 100-man challenge. Jin hears the 100-man challenge and realizes who he was. Su Cheon then tells that the last opponent was strong, but he was not strong enough to hurt him. The others say that he needed to be treated. Jin hears the other talking about who could have put the rising star of the eastern sky, Dam Su Cheon, into that state. Dam Su Cheon, age 18, the third son of the Northern Heavenly Alliance, the enlightened pillar Dam Jichim. Su Cheon is telling them that those people were pretty suspicious, but there was no need to worry, as he was the man who shook the world of Miram. He then asks who that guy was from earlier. They say that he was the descendant of the Northern Heavenly Sect Jin Mu-Won, but also state that he was pathetic, and they did not need to concern themselves with him. He looks back at Jin with curiousness. Jin was all sweaty. He did not expect to meet him there. He had an intimidating aura, and the strength of his chi was on another level. Jin then notices someone. It was the leader of the guard of the Central Heavenly Alliance. He tells Jin that he had been invited to dinner at the Watchan Palace. The guests were inviting the owner. Quite amusing. Jin accepts the invitation. The general then says Jin to come at the palace at dinner time tomorrow, and they had also granted permission for his cousin to come. Su Cheon is taking a bath and thinking about Jin Mu-Won. His chi was non-existent, and he did not sense any martial arts from him, but Su Cheol had definitely sensed something different about him. Whether he had it physically or spiritually, the strength and the will of the Northern Heavenly Sect had been inherited by that man. The next day Jin sees that Su Cheon was meditating outside his door. Suchin sees Jin and tells him that it was an honor to meet him. He introduces himself, and so does Jin. Jin is thinking why he was there. Suchon then bows down at Jin and tells him that he came there to express his thanks for accepting him to the residence without prior permission. Jin is confused hearing this and tells him that here was not really anything to see her and hopes that he was not disappointed. Suchon then tells that what it looked on the outside did not mean anything to him. What was important was that he was able to see the one who had inherited the Northern Heavenly Sect with his own eyes. They then stand tall facing each other. At dinner time, Jin and Seol come to the palace. Seol is all nervous. Seeing this, Jin says that he had told her that he would be all fine on his own. Seol says that she did not have a good feeling about this. And besides, she could smell something delicious. Jin sees that Seol was wearing the hairpin that he had gifted her. This makes Jin happy. They then get to the dining area. Seol thinks who that lion-looking man was. Sucheol also thinks if her being his cousin is the actual truth, as she did not have a normal chi. Was she her bodyguard? At the very least, she was not a normal person. Suchon then greets Jin and thanks him for accepting the invitation. They both then sit down. Ryung bows her head, the girl waves at them, and Shim then says that they should get down to business. Sucheon and Ryung stand up and Sucheon apologizes for using his palace without his permission, but there was a reason behind this. They wanted to appoint the two of them as their seal of approval. They state that they were here to establish Cerulean Dragon Society, whose purpose was to create a system for younger martial artists to have sat in the politics, and there were only 3 of them at the moment, but they promised the support of the numerous young martial artists. The older generation did not like it when the younger came to form a group. However, the Northern Heavenly Sect had made its name all over Murim, and they wanted to establish their organization at this place. Seol just starts eating, wanting to stay out of that matter. They wanted to establish the Cerulean Dragon Society, and for that they wanted Jin to be their witness and give them his sign of approval. Seol, while eating, says that they wanted Jin to give his approval and take all the blame. He then tells Seol to calm down. He then stated that understood, and he shall witness their promise with his own eyes. Sucheon then thanks Jin. Shim was just yawing. Seol was noticing all of them while eating. At night, 2 of the guards were talking about why they were always put on watch duty. They had thought that they would have a chance to join the 4 head heavens. The other one said that they were going to treat us more like shit. They thinks that they were watching at an area where even ants would not crawl. They think about the food that was being prepared. While they were drooling, someone was already behind their back. They look back and are terrified. Seol Musang senses that something was not right. He then looks at the northwest direction and asks who were stationed there. They were not answering his signal. What was going on? The vice captain rushed towards them. His subordinate was shocked to see that Seol Musang had become this good in martial arts. They then get at the top and are shocked seeing the scene. It was all covered in blood. At the palace. After dinner, they were talking to each other. Seol thinks that they were a scary bunch of idiots, to which Jin agrees. Seol tells Jin to stay beside her, and she will protect him. Jin is happy hearing this and tells her that he would take her offer and thanks her. She then shyly says that she is only going to protect her until she leaves. Just then Su Xian comes to Jin and tells him to come with him as he had something to discuss. Jin goes with Sucheon while Ryung asks Seol how the dish was. Seol, angry, asks them when they would stop tormenting him. Ryung then just stares at Seol. Seol says to her that there was no need for them to invite him there. Ryung said that they needed him here to get his sign of approval and apologizes if she had offended him. Seol tells her to stop bothering him, as even without them his life was already miserable and bleak. The little child comes and tells that the way she sees she was more trouble to him than they were. She then adds that why was she stepping in when Jin had no objection. Ryung tries to stop her, but she stated that Seol was also taking advantage of his kindness and hospitality. Seol is then silent for a while. But just then she senses something and is terrified. It could not be. Outside, Su Cheon is apologetic for approval request without prior discussion, but he had one more selfish request. He asks Jin to join the Cerulean Dragon Society and change the world together. Just then he senses something. The demon had arrived in the Northern Heavenly Sect.
Thank you for joining us in this recap journey. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button. Comment if you have suggestions, want more of the series. Don't forget to share it with your friends. Do subscribe if you want more similar content. This is Universe Nexus, your passport to the immersive realms of anime and manga.